are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. What are we talking about today? We're like at the end of the road for the regular road season with just 6 more games left before what is likely going to be a play-in game. What should the Spurs be focusing on? What does the Spurs do in the last 6 games? To do that and more, I am joined by my good friend Joe Garcia of Two Shots Podcast. He is back. Yes, everybody, you're getting a double dose of Joe Garcia this week. Joe, you just love giving the fans what they want. Hello, Joe. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there we go. All right. So, Joe, you're back, buddy.
Yeah, I'm back. We're working through a gremlin here. I don't know what happened with the audio, but we're gonna work.
First, Joe, are you shocked that a gremlin happened while I'm in control of this?
No, I was right there with you earlier today when we were having lunch, and lo and behold, the gremlins were striking.
They struck my phone. So yeah. So Joe and I, we had lunch yesterday, and I had to catch up some things. We had a personal thing to attend to, and I'm, like, Joe, I can't get this to work. I can't get this to work. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. So sure enough, the moment I show Joe what is happening to my cell phone, it's self-corrected. Why? Because I wasn't paying attention to it. Joe was. So I think the gremlin said, "Oh no, Joe's gonna be on the case if I don't straighten up here."
Yeah, so it was a funny thing. I mean, as soon as you're like, it doesn't work. Look, I'm pushing the button, and then you push the button, and it starts to work.
Oh, the never-ending joke with me and technology. I'm surprised the Locked On Network let me run this YouTube portion now. I'm surprised they didn't say, "Look, Jeff, we're gonna have to hire you a producer because you just suck at this."
You might have to. I'm available for hire, Jeff. So if you need a producer,
How much you charge, Joe? How much you charge?
oh, you can pay me in Bucky Nuggets.
Oh man, yeah. Yesterday, Joe and I went to Bucky's. For those of you who don't know what Bucky's is, it's like a glorified gas station in Texas. It's just
Huge.
a mall meets gas station meets convenience store meets, I guess a meat factory because there was just meat everywhere. Joe got himself some sandwiches. I got myself some jerky. And they have these little puffy nuggets. That's the best way to describe it. Just think of little puffy, just think of I guess like Captain Crunch, but like 4 times the size of that. And it's like popcorn. That's the best way to describe it.
They're like corn pops, a bigger version of corn pop cereal. They're really big, but they're good, and they have different flavors. I think Jeff got just about every single flavor they had.
I did. I had to get them all. And on the drive back, because even though we're in San Antonio, they're not in San Antonio. You have to drive almost a little over 40 miles outside of San Antonio just to get to one. On the way back, Joe was just munching on those Bucky chips.
Yeah, I had to save half for the wife, so I put them away. You tried a couple, and you liked
They were
them.
good. Yeah, they were very good. Now that we got the audience nice and hungry, well, then go get yourself a snack, everybody, and sit back and check out this episode of Locked On Spurs. And once again, looking at the final game. So, Joe, let's dive into this. Look, this is recorded before last night's game versus the Grizzlies. So we're going to be just looking at the last 6 games. So let's just go down them really fast. Spurs have dates left with Portland twice, Denver, Minnesota, Golden State, and Dallas. Joe, I think we can pretty much put to rest any type of tanking with the way the Spurs are playing, the way the Lakers are just bottoming out right now. As of this recording, the Spurs are on 4-game winning streak, just doing everything right. You look at these last 6 games and you start wondering, should the Spurs make a go at it, try to get a higher seed in the play-in, Joe? Do you think they should just start focusing on some, maintaining their conditioning, putting people in bubble wrap? What do you think the Spurs should do with these last games, Joe?
I mean, the problem is you have the faction of Team Tank and Team Play-In. I think you can go ahead and just say rest in peace, Team Tank, because it's not going to happen. The Spurs are right now tied with the Lakers, but they have the tiebreaker, so they're beating the Lakers right now, and they're the 10th seed in the Western Conference, and they got that last playing spot. Um, they're right there knocking on the door. There's what, 6 games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you want the team to get that much needed experience and get into the play-in? I mean, I know they're gonna have the faction of fan and moral victory. They're gonna get bounced right out of the first round. And I've heard it all before. I think I've heard it all season. This team is gonna be bad. They're gonna win 10 games. They
Right.
don't have an all-star. We have DeJounte Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're gonna not win more than 20 games. Well, I think they've won more than 20 games already.
Mm-hmm.
They're at 31. Oh, they can't, they get into the play-in, they're gonna get trounced right away. We don't know. I mean, the Pelicans are very beatable. Spurs can beat them. They
Mm-hmm.
possibly beat the Clippers? Maybe.
Yeah.
But could they beat the Timberwolves? Probably not.
Yeah.
you know? But why wouldn't you want the team to get as far as they possibly can and get that experience? That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about experience right now. And the young core is only going to get better the longer that the season goes on. So that's my thing. I get, Spurs fans want a draft pick and a high pick at that,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's a gamble again. Unless you're getting a top 3 pick, it's a franchise changing player, man, go just tank the rest of the season. But is
Right.
that
Right. Right.
realistically, is that going to happen? No.
Yeah.
And I already know, you can hear it, Jeff. Oh, here it comes. We're going to get another role player. It's like the Spurs fans can never be happy. It's like, what happened with just enjoying the rest of the season and whatever happens, happens? That's my
Mm-hmm.
mentality right now.
Right.
I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, and in these last 6 games, I first of all, I want the Spurs' confidence to be riding high, and it should be. We don't know what's happening in the Memphis game. Yes, the Spurs have not beaten Memphis ahead of yesterday's game. Hopefully, they did, but even if they didn't, you can get some confidence boost with a pair of games versus the Blazers. Maybe by the time April 5th rolls around, Denver will know where it's standing at already. Maybe they put Jokic in bubble wrap. Minnesota, the same thing for them. They play the next day on April 7th. Do you put Cat, Anthony Edwards in bubble wrap? The same thing for the Warriors. So the Spurs basically could see a bunch of teams that are not going to be at full power, but I think they should look at those games as not playing a team less than 100%. Look at those games as just fine tuning, getting ready, developing confidence, shake out some stuff. One of the big things I would love to see the Spurs do in these last 6 games, Joe, is maintain leads. Look what happened against Houston recently. They nearly blew it. They had themselves a double figure lead, and it came down to a last second shot by Houston that nearly went in, barely escaping 123 to 120. Joe, for me, I need to see them improve in that department in the last 6 games.
Well, that's that they would call that a moral victory in
Right.
Spurs Twitter. So yeah, I mean, you want to see them close out games a little bit stronger than they have been. They squander leads, and sometimes when they can actually get back in the game or take a lead, they squander that opportunity. It's an inbound pass gets stolen and goes the other way, and that's pretty much the end of the game. They sometimes get in their own heads, I believe, and again, it comes with inexperience. So they got 6 games to kind of clean things up and play a little bit better. Hopefully, they can go ahead and figure some things out, like you said, and close out the season on a high note. And maybe even get into the play-in tourney. I think that
Yeah.
would be I guess exceeding expectations for this team, because by all intents and purposes, a lot of Spurs Twitter faithful had them winning maybe 10 games or maybe 20.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of Spurs fans, not a lot, but I mean, a good chunk of them had them. Circling the bottom of the barrel in the Western Conference. Little and behold, they are not. Hey, but the Spurs have had a lot of great moments so far this season. Why not get yourself not only possibly some Spurs moments, but some NBA moments? And what better way to do that with NBA Top Shot, the officially licensed NFT of the NBA? You can connect with a passionate community of NBA fans across the globe. Build your own collection that feature moments from NBA history. Basically, is pretty much what the future of NBA fandom looks like. It's via NBA Top Shot. They're part trading cards, part stock market, part fantasy sports. You get a built-in loyalty program. It's just like owning a trading card, but virtually. I get it. I mean, Joe, you probably heard this too. Like, what is this? Is this like a YouTube clip that I'm buying? Well, it's not. It's more than just that. It's about owning. Pretty much having ownership in a stock market of the NBA's greatest moments. I mean, Joe, remember that 8 and dunk for the Suns in Game 5 of the NBA Finals? I mean, that was just crazy. If you had that, you'd probably be looking at a nice chunk of change return via NBA Top Shot. So yeah, you could get even players when they were drafted. Yes, it is awesome. If you sign up today at NBA Top Shot, it's the best way to get yourself started with a starter pack. You can get a moment like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Cade Cunningham, Mobley for just $9. So head on over to lockedon.nbatopshot.com to start building your collection today. Joe, do you have any NFTs?
I don't have any NFTs. I do want to get into the NFT craze,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been looking at Top Shot. So there you go. I wanted to get a Top Shot. Maybe a clip of you. When we made our
Oh
pit stop. Look,
no,
your
no,
reaction when you
not
saw the
that.
snacks. Yeah, man, that'd be pretty dope.
I just it felt like they had like little hidden stuff in little corners of that Bucky's. You turn
Yeah,
left is look at that. Turn right, look down, look up, the shelf. It was just so packed in there. Maybe they'll make NFTs. Maybe the NBA Top Shot will bring up NFTs of fans just shopping. That'd be funny.
maybe.
That'd
I
be
think
funny.
'cause you
Hey,
had a haul, Jeff. You had a haul
I
that
did.
lasted the
I
rest of the
did.
year.
I did. Yeah, yeah. Joe checked out first. I was right behind him, and you just heard that beepy noise at the cashier, beep beep, as they scanned every single item. But hey, we're talking about the Spurs, the last games. What should the Spurs do? And I'm joined by Joe Garcia of Two Shots Podcast. Joe, one other thing the Spurs can do, and I'm gonna get your thoughts on this, is do you think with the fact that they're more than likely to get in the play-in tournament, should they start scaling back some player minutes in these last 6 games?
That's a good question, but knowing Coach Pop, I don't think he'll scale back minutes. I think he's just going to let the players play. And if there's no chance, that they're not going to make the play in turn, he might go ahead and scale players back because at that point, I mean, there's really not much to play for. But in the position that the Spurs are in currently, why hold them back? Let them go out there and get as much experience as you can possibly get them. So I think he's just going to let them play through. There's no need at this point to kind of scale back minutes.
I mean, I'm looking at a guy like DeJounte Murray, and I would not mind seeing his minutes scaled back. Let's look at how many minutes he is averaging this season.
Oh,
Again, these are numbers ahead of, well, at least before last night's game versus the Memphis Grizzlies. So please keep that in mind. But yeah, DeJounte Murray, we know he has a heavy usage rate right now. Let's take a look at what exactly he is doing. I mean, the ball starts with him on the offensive end, and he's averaging about 35 minutes per game, Joe. That is a career high. Joe, yeah, I think I would like to see Murray scale back a little bit. But the thing is tricky because, yes, right now they're in the NBA play-in, but Joe, just because they're in doesn't mean they're going to stay there. Joe, I think that's the rub. You want your best player out there, DeJounte Murray. You want this team to stay in the play-in. The Spurs are talking about it. But it's not like they have a secure grip on that 10th seed, is it, Joe?
it's not. That's why I'm like, if you're in striking distance, the Spurs currently are. I mean, they've already superseded the Lakers because of the tiebreaker. See how far they can go, man. Maybe they can even catch the Pelicans. So I just say let them play. If there's nobody injured, nobody's nursing any injuries. I know they sat out Lonnie Walker a
Mm-hmm.
couple games already because of the back spasms. I mean, if your players are healthy, let them play.
Yeah. You look at some of the numbers here, and only 2 Spurs are averaging 30 or more minutes. That is DeJounte Murray, we talked about, 34.8, and Keldon Johnson about 31.7. Pirtle's the next closest at 29 minutes per game, and then followed by Devin Vassell at 26.9 and Lonnie Walker 23.2. Yeah, you look at the Spurs team, and yeah, they really can't take their foot off the gas pedal. So I don't think you'll likely see any scaling back of minutes until a playing spot is secured. And that's the thing, Joe. You look at the schedule, and they could theoretically, maybe outside of last night's game against Memphis, because despite John Morant not playing, the Grizzlies are still on a tear right now. There's some easy wins ahead for them, aren't there, Joe?
Actually, I would have to say I don't think they're going to be very easy wins. I mean, they got these two back-to-back games that are going to be coming up right now with the Trailblazers, but then you got the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, and the Mavericks. Those teams are no slouches, and right now, they're all pretty much playoff teams, with the exception being the Trailblazers. So,
Well, that's my thing. Look at when they play. We'll take for example the Nuggets.
yeah,
They don't play them until March. Start April 5th.
yeah.
Maybe Denver knows where they're gonna land in the positioning.
Well, if you catch them
Not,
sleeping.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Joe, they should beat Portland back to back, right?
Should, but you
They
know what?
should, right?
Drew Eubanks had
Yeah.
some
What
words.
happened to him?
He had some words to say to Jock Landale at the end of
Hmm.
that game, when
Yeah.
the Trailblazers were getting trounced by the Spurs. So he said, wait till the next game. He said, it's going to be different. Those were the exact words
Well,
of
yeah.
one Drew Eubanks. So he wants some revenge, should I say, against the San Antonio Spurs. So I don't know, man. You have a motivated Drew. I mean, hey, anything can happen. Maybe he gets the squad that he has out there on the court motivated, and they sneak a win against the Spurs. So they're not gimmies. So you got to go out there
Yeah.
and produce. But it looks like Drew wants some revenge, man.
He wants a little smoke, Joe. He wants some smoke. All
Yeah.
right, let's go have some fun now, Joe. And let's go to each and every game and try to predict the record. So again, we're not gonna look at the Memphis game. We're gonna start with the Portland game on April 1st. April Fool's Days, Joe. Oh my, will the Spurs be fools? Let's find out, Joe. That first game against Portland in San Antonio, the first game of a back-to-back versus the Blazers. How does Joe Garcia see game one against Portland?
Well, I'm gonna let you all into a little story. I might be attending that game with my good friend Jonas Clark. Right now,
Mhm.
Jonas, every time I've taken him to the last couple games,
Yeah.
it's been bad luck, man. So we wind up
Oh
going to this game on
no.
April 1st.
Don't take
I'm
him.
sorry, man. If Jonas is there, it's not looking very good. So they might lose that game. I predict they're going to win one out of the two. So the home game they might lose if me and Jonas are there. The second game, I predict that the Spurs will most likely win that one.
All right, so Joe has the Spurs rounding out the last six at 1-1. I'm gonna go 2-0. So in my prediction is right. The Spurs are on a what, four? Possibly maybe a 6-game, 7-game winning streak. Who knows? But again, we're gonna ignore the Memphis game, start from scratch. So Joe has them at 1-1. I have them at 2-0. The next game will be against Denver in Denver, Joe, on April 5th. How do you see that game going down? Win or lose?
Oh man, that's going to be a tough one. Depending if Denver does in fact sit some of their star players, for rest. If they can rest some of their key players, on paper the Spurs should get the dub, but again, we're playing on hypotheticals here, and I'm predicting that the Nuggets will not rest their starters. Unfortunately for the
Oh,
Spurs, I think it's going to be a loss.
oh. I think the Spurs are. You know what? I'm feeling good right now. I think the Spurs are going to get the win. I think they're playing different. They're playing a lot more motivated. They're seemingly, rise up to the task against big teams. I mean, literally and figuratively. They rise to the challenge. I think by then Denver will know more or less where they may be landing in the playoffs because they're secure. They're going to get a playoffs seed. They ain't going to worry about the play in. So I'm going to go with the uh, Nuggets on this one. Yeah, interesting to see what the Spurs are going to do in their final 3 games. But before we do that, look, after months of playing, college basketball has determined the top teams for the Final Four, and this will be determined at this year's national champion this week. Now, what better way to have fun with that than go to Bet Online? Go to betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You get all the latest odds, contests, and player props, you name it. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your latest sports developments, including podcasts and reviews for all leagues this season. Yeah, all leagues, NFL, NBA, MMA, NHL. Pick it. It's there over at BetOnline. As I mentioned right now, it's not just basketball. It's your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Joe loves those slots machines. Joe, you can't get enough of them, right? You're a slot guy?
Yeah, I'll play slots, but I play slots just to go ahead and get some money so I can go ahead and make some bigger money at the
Oh,
table
no.
games. That's where I excel. I'm a
Well,
gambler, man. I love going to the table games too.
Well, if you miss those games, you definitely want to go to betonline.net, Joe. And
There you go.
that's what I want everybody to do. Head on out to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn all about what BetOnline offers, like the trends, and take action right now. It's BetOnline where the game starts. Joe, let's going to continue our chat about the final few games left for the Spurs in our prediction segment right here. We got 3 games left. Let's start them out. Joe, after Denver, the Spurs will travel to Minnesota, take on the Wolves. How do you see that game going?
Oh man, I hate when you put me on the spot like that because I don't like being the bearer of bad news. But
Oh,
unfortunately,
here we go.
on this one though, I have a different view. I think at this point, the Spurs are really going to be vying for a spot in the play-in tourney. And these last 3 games are going to be crucial, whether they get in or not. I think the Spurs are going to play with some desperation, and I actually see them getting the win against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I'm going to go off opposite there. I'm going to say the Spurs lose this one. I think Minnesota's still going to want to be trying to really, really, have their, ducks in a row ahead of the play-in game. They'll likely be the top seeded in the play-in bracket, if you know what I mean. So they're going to want to have the rhythm because once the season's over, it's like right into the play-in game. There's no break for non-playoff teams. It's just boom, and you have another game on the schedule. Minnesota's going to be wanting to maintain that. And just, Minnesota's just a handful versus San Antonio, as we've seen this year. After the visit to Minnesota, the Spurs will then go home for the final home game of the season, Joe, as they host the Warriors. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, I think because again, they're going to be vying for that final spot in the play-in tourney. I think they're going to wind up getting the win. I think at this point, the Warriors are going to wind up resting a lot of their starters, and they're going to pretty much know where they stand in the Western Conference. Probably going to be that 3 spot. I'm predicting. So I think the Spurs are going to win.
Whew. I am gonna go with the Spurs win. I'm right there with you. I think Golden State probably has a lot of players in bubble wrap. It is the second to last game, likely for Golden State as well, if not probably one of the finales. Golden State likely have everything set up for them. So yeah, I'm going with Golden State with a loss to your Spurs. And Joe, the Spurs close out the regular season in Dallas, of all places. It's the Mavericks, Joe. I would say they visit the Dallas Mavericks. Joe, you would think maybe Dallas would take a page as well. Start putting people in bubble wrap like Luka Doncic.
You would think so, but I think the
Oh,
Spurs.
Joe.
I'm telling you, I think the Spurs are going to put a couple games together. They're going to win against the Timberwolves. They're going to win against the Warriors. And then it's like this, Jeff. It's going to be if you play, you're in. If you don't, you miss the tourney. It's going to come down to that Dallas Mavericks game, I think. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to wind up playing a full squad. Going to be a very close game because it is against the Mavericks, our heated rival here. But unfortunately for the Spurs, I think that's when the magic's going to stop. And I think they're going to wind up
Oh.
losing to the Mavericks and probably sealing their fate for the play-in tourney.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if the Spurs drop this game. It is the second game of a back-to-back. Yes, the Spurs close out the season on a back-to-back set, hosting Golden State and then traveling to Dallas. Um, yeah, I think the Spurs get the L on this one. All right, let's go recap now. So Joe has the Spurs starting 1-1. I have them starting at 2-0. Then we went to Denver. I said the Spurs are going to win, so I have them at 3-0. Joe has them at 1-2, I believe. He said a loss to Denver.
Yep, lost to
At
Denver.
at Minnesota, I have the Spurs picking up the first loss on my end, so 3-1. Joe, you said the Spurs are going to win that game. Is
Yep,
that correct? So you
yep.
have them what at 2-2?
Yeah, at this point, I have them at, 2-2.
2-2. Yeah, 2-2. All right. And then so Joe is at 2-2. Then he says that the Spurs are going to win against Golden State.
Yep, they're going to beat the Warriors.
Okay, so 3-2. I have them at 3-1. Now I have them at at 4-1, I believe. No, did I say a loss? I think I said a loss.
You said a loss against the Warriors.
I just lost against the Warriors, right? Yeah. So now I'm at 3-2, and then I finish them out saying at 3-3 with a loss to Dallas. Joe, you have them losing to Dallas as well.
Yep, I sure do.
So I have them at 3-3, and Joe has them at what 3-3 as well.
Yep.
Yep. So, Willie, do you think a 500 record in the last 6 games will get them at least in the 10th seed?
That's the thing. You got to see what the Lakers are going to wind up doing.
Yeah.
At 3-3, I mean, you're rolling the dice. You're going to have to depend on the Lakers really sliding. And again, if the Lakers can win a couple games, they can get back in the hunt and actually knock the Spurs off. So anything can happen. It's going to be dependent on wins. I hope I'm wrong at the 3-3 record, and maybe they go 4-2 and surprise everybody, and wind up getting in the play-in tourney.
Yeah.
Either way, these are hypotheticals.
Yeah, and also too, I think what's gonna help him is Lonnie Walker should be back by then, so there's an extra boost of offense and defense off that bench. Perhaps that'll help him as well. That could be a wild card in these last 6 games. A healthy Lonnie Walker. We are done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs' final 6 games? Joe and I have them going 3-3. Are we just way off? Should we reconsider? Do you disagree? We need to know. Joe, I need you to tell them everything about how they can contact you and all about Two Shots Podcast.
Yeah, you can reach me at Two Shots Podcast, and I'm available on Twitter. On the Twitters, at
The Twitters.
Two Shots Podcast, spelled out TWO, Two Shots Podcast. And you can look forward to a new upcoming episode of the Two Shots Podcast that we're going to be dedicating solely to the one and only Michael DeLeon, which unfortunately he did pass away, and we did attend the funeral. But we're going to be dedicating this next episode to Mr. Michael DeLeon, and we're going to have Jeff Garcia be a guest on our upcoming show. So look for that.
That's going to be fun. Take you through the early stages of Mike's starting point with Project Spurs, my former home, a home that I helped build. It's going to be a good one, and some stories about Mike and how that website started that nobody knows about but me, Joe. So definitely be one to look forward to. And again, follow Joe on Twitter at Two Shots Podcast. Joe, I mean, I'm looking at the bag of little Bucky nuggets right now. Should I open them?
If you open one, you can't eat just one, and you might as well just kiss your
Call it a
workout
day.
goodbye, dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be on the treadmill running for a while, because you eat a couple of those nuggies, man. They're loaded with sugar.
What have I done? How much money did I spend with you, Joe?
I think you spent probably over $100 on snacks, dude. No lie.
Snacks, dude. Of all things, snacks. not a bill payment, something responsible.
Snacks.
No, snacks. Yeah.
And
Hey,
you were
but thank
eyeing
you.
the cotton candy too.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Curious. That's all. I was just curious to see how tasty it is. But hey, I did have some sort of composure. I did put away some stuff. I said I didn't need a Bucky's baseball cap. I put that back. I didn't need more snacks. I put I put 2 bags of snacks away. I put away the trail mix, and I put away the cashews. I said I don't need this. Is overkill now. But I did pick up that sausage, Joe.
I'm telling you, man, you're gonna love that once you.
Yeah, I couldn't put that away.
Yep.
Joe, you need to cook it for me, man. 'Cause you're good behind it, and you're good on the grill.
Yeah, well, we could do that too. We got some time on the weekend.
Joe loves himself a cookout. Hey, once again, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. And check out the rest of the Locked On NBA shows. Look, the Spurs just finished playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Check out what Locked On Grizzlies had to say about the game last night. So for Joe Bucky's Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.